4 a.m. Almost ready to roll.
Mount Shasta is the southern anchor of the Cascade Range, which extends from British Columbia to Northern California. This large stratovolcano is one of the youngest and most geologically prominent volcanoes in North America that rises nearly 10,000 feet above the surrounding plains at its base. It is second only in size to Mount Rainier in the Cascade Range. Because it is a young volcano, its faces are steep and its rocky summit is not rounded like many other Cascade giants. At 14,179 feet, Mount Shasta is a visual wonder from over 100 miles away in Northern California and Southern Oregon. Its slopes receive hundreds of inches of snow a year, and in December of 2012, a freak storm dropped nearly 18 feet of snow in less than a week. However, from then on, the winter snowfall dwindled, and by late spring, the snowpack was melting quickly, leaving only about half the normal snow coverage by early July of 2013. This was the month of our climb. Our summit team of 3, Mike, Nick, and Ryan, plus our high camp support, Peggy, had been preparing for months with training hikes, stair climbs with weighted backpacks, and other torturous methods to get ready for a big mountain adventure. We also planned a training climb a few days prior up the South Sister in Oregon to help with acclimatization to higher altitude, since we were all sea level dwellers. The plan was to climb and ski Mount Shasta initially, but the dissolving snowpack made skiing untenable as far as the quality and coverage of the snow. The weather was forecasted to be perfect, clear skies and winds under 20 miles per hour. Day 1. Low camp. After a fantastic climb and ski of the South Sister, which touches the sky at 10,358 feet, we left Oregon and made our way to the east flank of Mount Shasta. The Brewer Creek trailhead lies on the eastern slope at 7,300 feet elevation. We arrived late in the afternoon and we started up the trail. We planned to set up our base camp at close to 8,000 feet to begin working our way up the mountain. We climbed the gentle trail up to a campsite at 7,950 feet, close to the only water source in the area, a creek from the melting snowfields high above that was flowing with cold, silty glacier water. As we set up camp and the sun lowered, we scoped out the snow and the slopes we would be facing. It looked much steeper than advertised on Google Earth. I was hoping for a 30-degree pitch much of the way up, but it looked to be quite a bit steeper than that. But it is hard to tell looking at a mountain face on. The snow was sun-cupped with large runnels, confirming our decision to leave our skis at low camp. We never regretted this decision. Day 2. Climb to high camp. We were up at sunrise, around 6 a.m. After a leisurely breakfast, we started up the steadily increasing slope of the east side of Mount Shasta. With every step, we were gaining altitude, and the brilliant sun warmed the air, but it also drove more wind down from the mountain. We climbed with our full packs into the loose, pumice-covered gully between the termini of Wintun and Hotlum glaciers, where the intervening snowfield drained into the lowlands. Because of the rapid melt this spring, the route was free of snow, even as we approached 10,000 feet. We were following the Hotlum-Wintun Ridge route, rated Class 3 due to some steeper pitches we found out later, a route that would keep us off the more active parts of the Wintun Glacier and on the snowfields that would be safer for climbing. By noon, we had reached our high camp at 10,080 feet. From the campsites, we had a commanding view of the slopes below us, and better yet, a great view of our route for the following day. Reports from other climbers coming down that day were that the snow and rockfall hazards were a real problem after 1 p.m., so we needed to get up early and get climbing before the daylight started to warm the slopes for too long. The winds were steady at 10 to 15 miles an hour with gusts into the 30-mile-an-hour range. We had lunch, rested, and made preparations for the summit attempt the next day. During the afternoon, Mike reviewed the basic climbing skills the team would need for the climb the next day. Climbing efficiently with crampons, using your ice axe for climbing, how to self-arrest if falling, and some basics of glissading were on the agenda for the afternoon. Practicing these was a gas, though a bit rough on the sun-cupped lower snowfields. After drying off quickly in the late afternoon sun, we packed our gear and ran through a final check, had dinner, then hit the sack early. I mean early, like 8 p.m. early. Day 3, Summit Day. The alarm didn't go off. I woke up with Peggy stirring in the tent at 3:25, 5 minutes before our wake-up time. Stepping out in the dark, the cold breeze quickly woke us up as we downed a few snack bars and got dressed for the early morning climb in the darkness.
4 a.m. Almost ready to row.
Our plan was to be moving on the snowfield just by our campsite by 4 a.m. At 4:04, we were moving. Pole pole, a Swahili expression for slowly, slowly, kept repeating in my mind. I had learned 8 years ago the value of a slow, steady pace, one that doesn't cause you to get hypoxic at the tissue level, on Mount Kilimanjaro, the 19,300-foot summit of Africa. We needed to pace ourselves the same way here to keep some reserve for the whole climb. Shortly after we started up, the horizon began to glow in the east. Step by step in the dark with only faint beams of our headlamps, we started up our angled ascent up the steeper and steeper snowfields of the east face of Mount Shasta.
The sun will be up pretty soon.
Our crampons were biting well into the frozen snow, giving us secure footing. By 4:45 a.m., we had gained close to 800 feet, far ahead of where I thought we would be. The sky was growing more brilliantly orange and red as the sun approached the horizon and broke through at 4:50 a.m.
Brian's gonna say, we have fun yet?
I'm having tons of fun. This is awesome. We're doing the round
Making really good time. We continued a solid pace for the next hour to our target crossing point over the exposed rock ridge between the Wintun-Hotlum snowfield and the Wintun Glacier at 12,200 feet.
I'm over breeze on this side.
13,000, I think. Maybe a little less, maybe 12,800.
The air feels good when you're standing still.
It does.
When you're moving, not as much.
Come up here and record that. Look at that glacier down there. We were there by 6 a.m. We took a short snack break, then made our way across the loose pumice that made the crossing the rocky band a real pain, slow with very loose footing while wearing crampons. Finally, on the Wintun Glacier, we looked up to figure out which way to go up this face. The first thing that hit all of us was that this was steep. Far from 30 degrees, more like 40 to 45 degrees. Some of this may have been the way the snow had fallen and melted out this season, but it was not going to be a relaxing stroll up a low-angle slope. We began to switch back up the slope, planting every step carefully into the firm snow that was gradually beginning to warm. Meanwhile, at high camp, Peggy was up and spotting us along the route, tracking our progress. Fortunately, we didn't have a way to tell her how steep this face had become. She began to make her way up the snowfield to explore the views and peer into the Hotlum icefall to our north. Still, we made good progress, cross-stepping over our uphill foot to gain a bit more altitude with every step. The challenge was trying to find the lowest angle slope. Some of the sides of the slopes approached 50 degrees, so we stayed in the center, and we weaved right and left.
So we're probably about 13.5, I think, right now.
Okay. 5? Yeah.
We took a break at the top of Shiprock, a prominent jutting rock formation in the upper part of the slope. This allowed us to tank up on some calories, catch our breath, and rejuvenate our legs for the final push up the last steep pitch.
There's Nick over there.
We had decided to wrap around the west side of the summit ridge, as the last pitch on the east face was steep, warming, and just not as safe. The wind had picked up, blowing steadily about 20 to 30 miles an hour as we approached 13,000 feet. For Nick and Ryan, we were already breaking their personal altitude records, and they were feeling great. Looking down, however, was not one of the things they wanted to do on the way up so far. The 5,000-foot slope below them that ended in the open crevasses of the lower Wintun Glacier were not that inviting.
So close.
Finally, around 9:30, we were off the steep Wintun Glacier and approached the wind scour that marked the lower angled slope that would allow us to crest the top of Misery Hill. Misery Hill is the last part of the climb from the west side, and my guess is that it is aptly named.
At 1,400 feet.
1,400, yep.
Sorry, 14,000.
See, he said
14,000. I gotta give some credit, I guess.
We climbed around the west side of the summit ridge to make the final climb on volcanic rock and no more snow to the summit itself. We crossed paths with 3 other climbers coming down from the ridge on their way back down the Avalanche Gully route on the west side. They were the only other group we saw the entire day.
So we're near the summit. Where are we, Tuggy? Just before the rock climb. The summit. Say it's 200 feet, but it looks a heck of a lot longer right now. 200 feet.
Yeah. Huh.
As we were heading up this last pitch, we could smell sulfur. The active vents so close to the summit reminded each of us that this was indeed an active volcano still. We wound our way up the loosely packed trail to the summit ridge and could suddenly see over both sides of the ridge, out over all of Northern California and Southern Oregon. From there, we turned to the final rocky summit and made our way through a narrow slot to the actual summit.
Windy.
Look how steep that is.
It was a superb moment to be on this incredible peak at 14,179 feet.
Nice work.
Taking in the views in all directions was sublime, but windy. We made our way down to a protected spot along the ridge, which was still cold but not windy. Perfect lunch spot at 10 a.m. Right on schedule.
Bruce is super headed and say, hey, we're at the top. We're at the top.
Yo, we're super excited. We're at 14,000 feet. Nicholas and I have never been higher than 10,500, and we feel really good. It's a beautiful day out of the wind. It's a windy day in the wind.
It's a really windy day in the wind. Yeah.
We downed some food and water, laughed, breathed, and relished the moment. No one was feeling the effects of the altitude, a testament to planning a good climbing schedule to allow the body to adapt somewhat to a rapid ascent.
At the summit register.
I feel like it's too cold to leave that long of a note. What's today? It's the 9th.
Hi, Peg. Hope you can see us.
After 40 minutes at the top, we turned back and down the slope to face the Wintun Glacier once again. The descent was tricky. Plunge stepping was the name of the game now. The snow had softened tremendously in the summer sun, and on this steep face, we found ourselves sinking at times down to our knees. Some of this may have been a function of the early season record 18-foot snowfall. We had to avoid falling or slipping since driving in an ice axe into 18 inches of soft, mushy snow does little to slow you down. Ryan had to use crampons, as his snowboard boots were no match for the need for traction. We tromped down the slope, hoping nothing would slough below us as we went. A few icy patches were on our route, and I learned in a split second how slick they were as they warmed in the sun. Self-arresting is often not difficult, but on a 45-degree slope that has bottomless granular snow, one is highly motivated to stop once you start accelerating down a snowy chute. By 12 p.m., we were on the rocky Wintun-Hotlum ridge, a welcome relief from the steep slopes behind us. While crossing the ridge, we saw a 2-foot boulder bounding down the Wintun, about where we were 5 minutes before. It continued its way down about 5,000 feet from where it fell off near the summit. Once on the snowfield, the fun started. It was time to glissade. To glissade, you sit on your rear end, legs in front, and you slide down the slope, braking with your ice axe handle, then stopping yourself by self-arresting with your axe head. We rapidly covered the last 2,000 feet of descent and arrived at high camp at 1 p.m. Another round of celebration was in order, having made the scary down climb with no one losing it. Peg had watched our progress all day, but had lost sight of us before we reached the summit. She had a great day on the snow, checking out the great views from 11,000 feet. After about 2 hours, we broke camp, loaded up our gear, and headed down out of the wind to our low camp for the last night on the mountain.
Heading back to our low camp. My legs are dying. There's guys coming back to camp. They didn't get lost. Sweet.
That's a good one to remember.
So there's our track going up and down.
No trouble falling asleep that night. Day 4, hike out. We were greeted yet again by brilliant sunshine in the morning.
Help each other lift our crazy boards up. Any comments before we leave? Yeah, okay.
Absolutely super fun. Excellent weather.
Oh, yeah.
Lots of good thigh workouts.
Too much blue sky.
Really great.
No rush today, just a nice breakfast at camp, packing up all the unused ski gear, and a quick hour walk back to the trailhead.
We'll hike down. Beautiful woods.
We loaded up our cars and headed back
Oh,
to
yeah.
civilization, a little richer for the
Oh,
experience.
that's bad.
We had a great climb, a beautiful mountain, incredible views, and a few challenges along the way to make it interesting for all of us.
Poor execution of
Yeah, very bad process. All right, guys, we're back.
Each of us had our own reasons for climbing on this peak, but in the end, having our team reach the summit and safely return was the common experience we hoped for and shared together. We couldn't ask for anything more.